Here are some of the books I will be talking about. 10 books with our time constraints is a lot. I'm going to try and go really fast, and I only have 9 books. I hope that's okay. Most of these are books that I chose in high school. I wonder if that means I don't read enough anymore after high school. Biology, 7th edition by Campbell and Reece, which is a textbook. Why Evolution is True by Coyne, The Demon-Haunted World by Sagan, Sophie's World by Garter, Why Does the Universe Exist by Holt, The Nuts and Bolts of College Writing by Harvey, What If by Monroe, The Healthcare Handbook by Askin and Moore, Healing of America by Reed. The first one, the textbook, just explained to me the relationship between molecules and us as people. Like, I understand how it goes from atom to molecule to organelle to cell to organ system to human to populations. I understand those transitions now. Why Evolution is True by Coyne. I had already sort of started leaning towards Evolution is True before I read this book. Picture of a bunch of green and yellow grasshoppers in green grass, and then the birds ate all the yellow grasshoppers because they were easier to see, and then there were only green grasshoppers left. And that's kind of how I think that evolution wasn't as dumb as I thought it was. Then I read this book and it just systematically breaks down every single misconception. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll believe in that, but also believe in God at the same time because the author is a terrible philosopher but good biologist. Demon-Haunted World, another book about science. It's sort of about how systematically testing things with science helps us glean true knowledge and helps us understand the difference between the mythical and what has been not completely proven to be true, but fairly well established to be true. Sophie's World by Garter was just a really good introduction to Western philosophy, while also being a really entertaining book. Why Does the Universe Exist by Holt. This one really shook my faith, because at first when I was a Christian, it's like, atheists can't explain how the universe came to be, and then I learned that there are actually perfectly good explanations, and then my faith became less established in a misconception and more established in I believe this because this is what I choose to believe. The Nuts and Bolts of College Writing by Harvey, just a good book that helped me write better. What If by Monroe, you guys know that book, taught me some really incredible skills. For example, I was researching sudden infant death syndrome risk factors in the Dominican Republic, and I used those kind of Fermi estimations to figure out how many lives we could save if there were to be some kind of intervention in the Dominican Republic. The Healthcare Handbook by Askin and Moore. This just explains the healthcare system. Like, these are the different kind of providers, these are the jobs you can get in healthcare, these are the changes that the ACA brought about. It's one page of this book that made me decide to go into primary care. Cost. In 2005, a systematic review of research about primary care usage and healthcare outcomes found that, quote, areas with higher ratios of primary care physicians to population had much lower total healthcare costs than did other areas, possibly partly because of better preventative care and lower hospitalization rates. In contrast, the supply of specialists was associated with more spending and poorer care. And that is why I'm not going to be a specialist. That book had a very profound impact on me. Oh, I'm also going to show the graphic. Okay, maybe you can't see it that well. But the top one is Australia, the bottom one is the United States. The blue part is primary care doctors, the green part is specialists, the red part is other doctors. I guess they're like doctors that don't take care of patients. I have no idea. But yes, the United States has very few primary care doctors. In all the countries above the United States on that graph, people live longer, healthier lives in those countries as compared to the United States. And the last book is The Healing of America by Reed. It just explains its comparative healthcare system, so like, here's the United States system, here's the Canadian system, here's the British system, here's the French system, here's the Taiwanese system, here's the Japanese system, here's the Indian system, here's the German system. And so he goes through each of those systems and talks about their relative advantages and disadvantages. Because no health system is perfect, but what all politicians in other high-income nations other than the United States say is, our healthcare system might have problems, but at least we're not the United States. Because our healthcare system is ridiculously expensive, and we don't get quality for the price we pay. And that was the book that sort of got me thinking, I don't really want the government to be in control of my healthcare, but the fact that it just has worked so many times in so many other countries